In this video, I'll teach you how to judge others. Stick around. Now take a deep breath and imagine this. If you know me, or if we've met before, or if you've ever shared your designs online, I have at some point in time judged you. In this video, I will teach you how to become better at understanding design by judging other people's designs. After reading and watching some architects and designers talk about the importance of formalizing processes in order to make it into a system, I've decided to sort of sit down and think about it in a system and share it with you. I won't go into any complicated frameworks for judging good design as they tend to be heavy and more academic, but rather I'd give you my 3 questions that I ask myself when I'm looking at a design to judge if it's good or not. The first question is, does it look good? The second question is, does it solve any problems? And number 3, do the first 2 points make it innovative? Let's elaborate. The first question I ask myself is, does it look good? I know it's a superficial question because anything can look good, right? It's very subjective in the end. Who am I to say if it looks good or not? Well, I believe something that looks good is a combination of a few things that are happening in the background, like the composition of forms, materiality, massing proportions, colors, etc. The right balance of these things makes something looks nice. So for this particular question, I'm just asking the very superficial upper layer question. Does it look good? Does it look good to me? So the answer comes to me fairly easily now because I've been in the field for a fair few years, so I've developed that sensibility that I feel is required in order to judge other people's designs secretly. This all sounds very superficial, but as you build up your vocabulary of good design over the years, when you start looking consciously at other people's designs, you start to build a baseline which is quite high, and you can always relate, go back to it and compare everything else that you're looking at with the baseline. So I would like you to do the same now. Look for the most beautiful or the best / whatever online. Read up on why they're called good by other experts who are much better than you, and take notes. Keep doing that and develop a vocabulary over time. This is what I've been doing. Now that the superficial first question of beautiful is out of the way, let's move on to the second one. Is it actually solving any problems? This requires a more in-depth look than the first one. Generally what I do is I try to deconstruct when I look at something, especially architecture, and try to go back and see what the brief would have been like for that particular project. I try to imagine what the client said. I look at the site and the surroundings and the context and the materiality, and try to see if I can get any visual, immediate cues from that design that tells me that yes, an interesting problem was solved by that solution. Also, having a baseline understanding of certain building types has really helped me out over the years. Like I've done schools and universities and high-rise hotels and offices. So that gives me an edge when I immediately look at another mall, for example, let's say a retail store. So I can sort of compare that with the baseline because I've got that experience. And when you're analyzing a school, can you identify with a multipurpose hall is? Because that might be a problem for a smaller site. Did it go underground? Did it go overground? Did it just disappear altogether? So for me, the solution to a problem has to be there. For example, if you see the shape of a building in a certain way, is it because it's based on views? Is it based on the absence of views, or maybe these courtyards were converted to have internal views? So these are all the things that you're looking at in order to judge good design. In order for you to develop your sensibilities, it's good to know about different building types, not just villas or houses or universities. So you have to build up your vocabulary of building types, and then you can sort of put them as a baseline and see if a particular design is fulfilling the basic criteria, and if it's doing really well, then it becomes a good design. But the problem still remains. If the design is solving a lot of problems, but it's not looking good, then is it good design? In my opinion, I keep it simple. No, it's not. If a particular design doesn't fulfill my first two categories, I never call it good design. Third question, do the first 2 points make it unique? This is a very interesting one, and of course subjective as well, like everything that we've been talking about so far. These days, when there seems to be a lot of information online and the clients are more informed than before. So we're talking about a certain level of exposure that wasn't there before. Not all exposures are created equal, of course. So when they come to architects and designers, they come up with a certain expectation. And the architects try to fulfill those expectations by coming up with unique solutions with a varying degree of success, of course. Not everything that is unique is good. So we try so hard to be different by changing color and form and by twisting things and adding new materials and try to make a pastry out of it. And sometimes forget a lot of things in the process. But does it make it unique? If a design ticks the first 2 boxes, it looks good and it solves problems, then 80% of the work, in my opinion, is already done. It's already a good-ish design, but not great. In order for it to be a great design, it needs to fulfill the third criteria, the third question. It needs to be unique, but that uniqueness should be coming out from the first and the second point. So what makes it good and the solved problems should make it unique as well. And if it does, then it ticks all the 3 boxes, and yes, then that is a good design in my opinion. Am I making any sense here? Everyone can come up with a courtyard to solve the problem of lighting in the building, right? But can that problem be tackled in a different way? Did adding the courtyard enhance design in any other way? Did it make it look good, add light, increase the architectural program, and satisfy the codes and regulations? You know, when you tick all these 3 boxes, we talk about a project from BRK. Look at that. It ticks all the boxes. Number 1, it looks beautiful. Number 2, it solves a problem. And number 3, the problem and the beauty actually makes it unique. So in other words, the third point is a consequence of the first 2 points, and they sort of all go together hand in hand. So this is how I judge good design, and I've been doing it for years, only formalized it recently. The same principles apply for judging good architecture, judging good graphic design, product, furniture, everything. Try it out. Okay, alright guys, I encourage you to go to your Facebook timelines, look for your friends who've recently shared their designs for feedback, and rip their designs to shred by asking these 3 questions. That's my time. Generally speaking,